Hi there, welcome back to ADSR Massive Tutorials. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, get yourself subscribed. youtube.com/ADSR Tuts. In this tutorial, we're going to remake this sound, the kind of sort of pad, or it's got a little bit of an arpeggiator vibe to it as well. You can download this patch directly from the MassiveSynth.com website. There's a link on the screen. Click on that link, take you to the website. You can download the patch. We're going to recreate it here. So I just got this drawn out F2 note, and I've got a little bit of processing. We'll come back to that later on this instance of Massive. So just solo this for now as well. And let's just create a new sound in here. So it's going to use two oscillators for this sound. Oscillator One, going to use the Melancholia wavetable. It's kind of like got a chord inbuilt into that wavetable, so already we've got quite a nice vibe going on. Turn on Oscillator 2. This can stay as a square saw 1. Just bring the amp down slightly and take the pitch up by 2 semitones. So we've got a little bit of a chord thing happening there, strengthening that chord element in Oscillator 1. So the next thing we can do is probably set up the sort of arpeggiator type thing we've got going on here. So I'm going to use a stepper here in this first LFO slot, convert this to a stepper, and take the sync, we'll turn the sync on and take the ratio to 1/1. So basically it means each step is going to be 1 bar long. Click and drag the crosshair, this stepper, to the first pitch modulation box on Oscillator 2, and just click and drag up, or hold Alt and Option, click and drag up, so we've got +12 in here. And then on this second step, I'm just going to activate the snap to grid function so I can get some exact values in here. It's going to go +1 in there. So now when you hold down a note, every bar it's going to basically take the pitch of this oscillator up by 1 semitone. So effectively the pitch is going from +2 semitones to +3 and then back down to +2. So then up 1 semitone. So that's working in conjunction with this Oscillator 1, just creating this nice chord element and a little bit of a kind of riff in there as well. So let's set up some filters now. So we're going to use a bandpass filter here. So bring the cutoff to around about 1/4 of the way up, pull the bandwidth down to maybe about 1/3, and pull this resonance down to about 1/4 of the way up to. I'm going to use this second LFO slot here. Keep this as an LFO. We're going to use this to modulate the cutoff frequency of this bandpass filter. So click and drag the crosshair, the LFO, over to the first modulation box on the cutoff frequency here. So click and drag up. So we've got a nice bit of modulation being applied, and let's set this LFO up to, let's sync it and take the ratio to 1/4. We can keep we'll push the X fade curve to the top, so we've got this sine wave controlling the shape of the LFO. And do quite a cool thing here as well. I'm going to use this velocity macro, click and drag this, and drop it in this sidechain box, or the third modulation box on the cutoff frequency here. Click the SC to activate the sidechain modulation and check the arrow to up. So now the amount of LFO modulation we're applying to this cutoff frequency here is determined by velocity. So if I hit the key really lightly, get this really deep sound. If I press the key much harder, get that kind of LFO on there. So we've got a nice kind of variation going on with the sound now according to velocity, how hard we hit the key. So I'm going to apply an LFO to this bandwidth as well. So this third LFO slot, keep this as an LFO, and click and drag the crosshair to the first modulation box on the bandwidth for this filter. Let's click and drag down. So just adding a little bit more movement, kind of more sort of texture to the sound. So I'm just going to take the ratio down of this LFO take the rate down, sorry. Keep the X fade at the top, so we've got this sine wave. So it's just got a nice amount of movement going on with the sound. So we can set up some effects now. Have a little bit of chorus on here. Just kind of thickens things up, makes things a little bit wider. Bit of reverb as well. Push this density up, maybe take the colour down. It's a little bit more subtle, and bring the dry wet down to about a quarter of the way up. And one final thing that would be quite nice with the sound is a bit of white noise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this LFO that's controlling the cutoff frequency here. I'm going to use this to control the amp of this white noise here. So click and drag the crosshair of that LFO, drop it in this amp modulation slot, click and drag up to around about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way round. So I've got that noise going on there. So you could use the sidechain feature again, but this time to control the amount of noise you've got on the sound. So I'm click and dragging the crosshair, this second macro here, over to the second modulation slot on the amp of this white noise. Check the sidechain feature, hit that SC, click the little dash underneath the first modulation box so the arrow goes to an up arrow. So now this macro is a volume control for this noise. It's basically a volume control for the amount of modulation being applied to the amp. So move it down. We've got no white noise. If we turn this up, so we can control the amount of noise that we have in the sound there. Finally, turn the feedback on. Just boost a bit of amp on the feedback. And now let's look at some of the processing we've applied here. So some channel EQ. So I've layered this sound with a bass sound here. So drop the kind of low frequencies out of the sound. I've also got this isotope imager, and I'm just boosting some width in mainly the kind of higher frequency. So from sort of 1.5K or 1.3K onwards and upwards. Applying some width to the sound a little bit down here, and then kind of no width on the sort of real low frequency, and then some sidechain compression. So if we play this in with the sidechain trigger here, turn this on, I'm only ducking the low frequencies out of the sound, so they're just not clashing with the kick drum, so we're not getting such a noticeable extreme sidechain effect. It's just more, it's kind of ducking out those low frequencies. So everything from 245 Hz and upwards, we're not sidechaining. So great thing about this Pro Seat, it's set up really nicely for that sidechain filtering. So that's the sound really. Let's give it another spin with all the other sounds. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. I hope you found it useful. Any questions, please get in touch. You can of course download that patch directly from the MassiveSynth.com website. Whilst you're there, check out all the other stuff we've got on there. Loads of cool stuff. Tutorials for Native Instruments Massive. And thanks for watching. Alright, cheers. Bye.